What's going on, guys? TG or ThunderGod here, and I have a pretty dope guest on the channel today. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Satori, Kisame fanboy number one.
I was saying, like, we believe in Kisame over here. This is a safe space. Kisame video coming very soon. But today we have a pretty interesting video. It's a rendition of one of my older videos. That being, we have the eternal rivals, Guy and Kakashi, versus each Akatsuki duo. I did this video before, but I wanted to remake it since a lot of my opinions have changed, and I wanted to kind of offer a new, fresh perspective. And I do think it's very interesting since Kakashi's literally Mr. Worldwide. He just is known by all and just fights every Akatsuki member, which is really funny. And you have Guy who's like Akatsuki level, like the data books imply it, and he's just like this beast in throughout Shippuden and stuff like that. So I think it's really interesting. We're gonna go through. We're gonna be taking these characters at relevant points in the series, like when discussing these matchups, and we'll talk about like exactly which forms during each matchup. But for example, I'm not gonna have like War Kakashi versus Deidara and Sasori. That's just not. There's no none of that. No. So that should be pretty self-explanatory. With that being said, make sure to check out Satori down below. He makes great content. Knows all the good stuff about Naruto. Definitely check him out. But with that being said, let's get into the video. Now, starting off, we should talk about like Kakashi and Guy just a little bit before we get into this discussion, since we want to establish a base mark for these characters. We were talking about this a little bit before the recording, but when these discussions always come about, there's always the question of like, what level of gates Guy can use before again in Shippuden, because some people think it's only up to the 6th gate, some people think 7th only comes about later, some people think he can use the 8th gate in part 1. What's your opinion on this? I know we talked about this, but like at what gate level we're keeping Guy throughout this video?
So right off the bat, like 8th gate just goes out the window, because that's just a cop-out in any case, in any version. But in part 1, he does refer to himself as the Blue Beast of Konoha. And we know that the Blue Beast comes from the 7th gate, like most likely. There's no other explanation. So it sort of has to be implied that Guy can use up to the 7th gate, at least, in part 1 already. So in these matchups, he should just be able to pull it out at any point.
Yeah. And even like when discussing Guy and relativity to Kakashi, there's a pretty like... The narrative here is and that's presented in the show is that base to base they're relative, and when Guy unleashes his inner gates, like for example in the War 6th gate, he's able to match Kakashi in speed, an implied potency, although that might be debatable. So it seems more so that like when Kakashi unleashes his Sharingan and his ride carry to like amping his speed to the absolute max, Guy's able to match that in his gated form. So he's going to be very relevant throughout this, with like the 7th gate being a step above that. So and I'll say this too, because we were talking about this a little bit, whether Guy gets stronger throughout Shippuden or whether he stays the same, because that's also a topic of debate. We were discussing this, but he should get stronger since Kakashi gets stronger, and Guy has to consistently match Kakashi throughout the show. So if he were just like, it would make no sense for it. It would contradict the narrative that he's Kakashi's rival if he were just stronger all the time, like they're implied to be at the same level. And Guy does train all the time, so it'd be consistent. You also talked about this, that there's a bit of a time skip in Shippuden, which a lot of people gloss over. Do you wanna mention this?
Yeah, there's definitely a small time skip. Well, not so small, it's 6 months, because at the beginning of Shippuden, Sakura and Naruto and all those guys talk about how they have 6 months before Orochimaru can take another body. And then we flash forward after the Kazekage rescue and Techi Bridge to the fight between Sasuke and Orochimaru is just trying to take his body. So now it's implied that 6 months have passed since those early arcs of the series, because Orochimaru is able to take a new body.
Yeah.
And also on that Guy note, just to really quickly definitively prove that Guy gets stronger throughout the series, even further on top of the narrative, if you don't believe he gets stronger, that means Kisame could blow back Jubidara with the Shark Bomb, because the Shark Bomb is able to like match Hirodora for a bit. So just saying, like, even in terms of stamina too, after the Kisame fight, Guy, after having used the 7th gate, he's like breathing heavily, like a slap on the back makes him shiver. And then later on in the Jubidara fight, he uses the 7th gate, hits himself with Hirodora point blank, And then he's sort of knocked out, but right after that, he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Let me just open the 8th gate.
Yeah. It's to bounce off that further. Like, even like initially when he uses the 7th gate, like he could barely fight off like Kisame's like shark that traps him in the bubble. And then you look at the other characters, they're fine. And then you have B who's just boxing the shark and like beating it up. So it's like he's like getting ragdolled around while the like even base Naruto can combat the shark. So his fatigue is actually like not insignificant at that point. Like after using the 7th gate, like it's really ridiculous. Which is, you know, it's a strong technique, which, you know, should be the case. So, you know, we do kind of have that establishment with Guy, and we can make those inference depending on like what point we have Kakashi at during the video. So that's all we want to talk about. For Kakashi, we'll talk about it more as the discussions go around, because it's going to become more relevant depending on what time period. So we can just get straight into the matchups here. The first matchup we have is Sasori and Deidara. For this matchup, we'll just be using Kakuzu or Kakashi for the sake of consistency, just making it easy. And these characters are just going to be fighting in an open field, similar to like maybe Kakuzu and Hidan, where they fought Kakashi, or like Deidara fought Sasori. What's your opinion on Sasori and Deidara versus Kakashi and guys? Like opening thoughts.
So opening thoughts, we know that Sasuke and Deidara are sort of relative. Sasuke does have the edge in terms of close quarters combat, but Deidara can react to him up close too.
Yeah.
So we have Kakashi being relative to a Naruto who thinks he's catching up to a weaker Sasuke than the one that fought Deidara. Because Sasuke like absorbs the Orochimaru and then trains for arguably 6 months after that. And then we have Deidara matching that, whereas Kakashi's like, yeah, this Naruto that's catching up to that Sasuke, yeah, we're rivals. And so I feel like the speed might go in Deidara's favor. Now, Sasori is a little bit more complicated. People like to downplay him because Sasuke was able to blitz Sakura and Sakura was able to compare with Sasori in their fight.
Yeah.
But for one, Sakura is so weakened at that point when she encounters Sasuke that she's like almost stumbling over and stuff. She's like poisoned by the Ninetales chakra. She has to like take breaks in the forest because she's just running tires her out a ton.
She can't even like catch a tree branch. Like it's actually like hindering her basic movements. Yeah.
Yeah. And then against Sasori in the databook, it's actually implied that she got a mental lamp against him. And even then, she only ever reacts to him from afar. Like, there are several moments in the fight when she would have died if it wasn't for Chiyo saving her.
Yeah.
And Sasori is, like, arguably not going full power. He should be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he does monologue, like, yeah, Sakura, this girl's good. Like,
I agree.
why am I struggling so much?
I agree.
Yeah, but opening thoughts, in speed, Deidara should have, like, an edge over base Kakashi. But then with Chidori, not Chidori, Raikiri, Kakashi should probably be able to close the speed gap.
Yeah, I generally like agree with all of that. And there is a level to this discussion to where like, okay, like who kind of takes on what, like which fighters. Because if you kind of look at this like as two 1v1s or a 2v2, the discussion does take a bit of a turn. In terms of 1v1, I'll say this. Kakashi does have a good matchup against Deidara and Sasori, in my opinion. Against Deidara, we can already infer that due to the Sharingan in the Sasuke fight. Against Sasori as well, Kakashi should be able to see his core with his Sharingan and the chakra emanating from it, along with the chakra threads. He should be able to cut them very easily with, you know, Chidori Enhanced Knife or just Raikiri in general. I said the same thing you did. Raikiri Enhanced Knife or just like Raikiri in general. I've talked about this before. If you don't think it's possible, Omoi with like no chakra enhancements on his blade can like cut Sasori's strings in the war. So it's more so about just perceiving them. You should be able to cut the threads pretty easily. So there is that. In which case, like Kakashi does have a good time against each of these fighters, at least in my opinion. Guy's a little weirder to talk about because it's almost like he kind of does have to, in my opinion, like resort to the 6th or 7th gate against both of these fighters. I do think they're that level of strength at this point. In which case, it's kind of like hard to say. What's your opinion on like 6th gate Guy versus Sasori and Deidara?
So as we talked about before, and as you established, Guy in base should be relative to Kakashi here, and then 6th gate would be relative to this version of Chidori Kakashi. I said it again.
Oh my god, there's the Chidori counters going on this video, but keep going.
This guy should be, like, in the 6th gate, he should be relative to Raikiri Kakashi based off the war scaling, just like to this version of Raikiri Kakashi.
Yeah.
So he should be keeping up with these characters just fine in the 6th gate. the question is, like, could he Asakujaku Deidara out of the sky? Could the fireballs reach Deidara in the sky? Because we know Deidara in character does not go too high into the air when he's fighting grounded opponents. We see that against Sasuke, he stays just out of reach of Sasuke's lightning blades.
Yeah.
That's the C2 dragon. It might be a bit different with the birds, but still.
Yeah.
A really funny interaction with Sasori, if he stays on the ground, if he doesn't go into the air with Deidara on a bird, is if Guy uses the Sakujaku against the 100 puppets, he should just be able to blow all of them away.
Agreed.
Like, just like machine gun gunning down, like First World War trench warfare flashbacks going on.
Nah, the puppets have no durability. Yeah, they're getting absolutely clapped. Yeah.
Yeah. And then an even funnier interaction is 7th Gate Guy, because we know he produces like a shockwave that can push away large amounts of water. So if Sasori just tries to attack him with basic needles and maybe even iron sand needles, the shockwave alone might just blow them back. So he might just like charge Sasuke. So he might just charge Sasori Knight Guy style and just punch his head off. like he might not even have to dodge.
Yeah, it's it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. And I will say, like, in terms of Sasori, there is a layer to this discussion where you kind of have to look at, okay, well, do they have intel on Sasori's poison? I'll say this. I'll make this case. It's in character for Kakashi to kind of scope out his opponent's capabilities with shadow clones before he even engages them directly. He does this a lot in Shippuden. This is his approach against Pain. Like, that's a big one because he's trying to defer it. So I could see a situation in which, like, Kakashi's trying to gauge, like, what Sasori's trying to do. If you argue, like, in the canon consistency, like, okay, if you want to say, like, he has intel on it due to, like, them being both on the mission and this, like, actual battle having some plausibility, I could see that as well. But I do think Kakashi would be able to make some inference or something, like, just based on the way Sasori was fighting. He also we might be able to notice, like, poison dripping off of, like, all his, like, gear and stuff like that, because there's a lot of it. Or, like, even if Sasori initiates the third Kazekage, he's a lot less subtle with it because he has giant poison bombs or anything like that. So, you know what I'm saying? So I do think that it isn't a leap to say, like, Kakashi would be able to infer that at any degree. Now, in this case, it's a little weird, right? Because, like, it's also, what if this fight turns into a 2v2? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if Sasori's, like, Iron Sand starts, like, blocking up, like, data as, like, you know, explosives or anything like that? In which case, I could actually see a bit of a problem for the Kakashi and Guy duo, since it's a bit questionable if they'd be able to just break the Iron Sand or, like, punch through it or anything like that. I don't think so, but maybe you can make a case of that. There also is a bit of consistency with Boruto. I know maybe some people won't want to bring this up, but, like, Iron Sand's weakness being Raiton, since that's actually what Gaara's, like, adopted son Shinki is, like, based off of. Like, he has, like, Iron Sand, and, like, his weakness is Raiton, which, like, the disassembles it, or, like, I can't remember the exact terminology they use, but it essentially just, like, it messes with the magnetic force or anything like that. So there is maybe a case as well for Kakashi's, like, lightning style being able to mess with the Iron Sand as well, and maybe, like, somewhat, like, deconstruct Sasori's constructs, if that makes sense, like, kind of, like, make them fall apart and stuff like that. So there is something to that. But you know, Kakashi and Guy generally do have a good time in this discussion, since they, like, Guy, for example, like, he's able to, like, match himself to Kakashi's peak, and which is, like, very comparable to these people, and, like, put himself a tier above that. And this isn't even mentioning how, like, Kakashi has Kamui. Do you want to talk about I'll say this before, actually, I want to hear what you have to say. There is a case, like, I've argued this for this in the past. If Kakashi does see Sasori's heart, he might just be able to Kamui it from across the battlefield, since he'll be able to see the chakra, which would be disastrous for Sasori. Maybe you could argue at this point, like, it might not be as proficient, but what's your opinion on this?
Kamui is extremely weird, because we know it's like a blitz tier above Kakashi's own speed, because Pain is able to perceive his Raikiri attacks just fine, and then he's not even able to perceive Kakashi Kamuiing away that nail. And we do know that he has precision, because he's able to Kamui away, like, missiles and nails and stuff. But then we also have to think, like, why didn't he just sort of Kamui away Kakuzu's head or Pain's head? Like, it's sort of not in character. I feel like just Kishimoto didn't really want to give Kakashi that insta-kill button. But he should, in theory, be able to just do that to Sasori or Deidara. Because we know that Pain wasn't fast enough to perceive that, like, black hole appearing and sucking up the nail.
Yeah.
So technically he should just be able to like Kamui away their heads if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But it's not really in character, so I don't really feel like that's fair to bring up.
Nah. It's definitely one of those things like if the fight is like pressing on that he would consider, which is like it's in character for Kakashi and Shippuden. Like he only really uses it as a last resort. It's even against Pain, like it doesn't enter his mind until like the absolute end of it, just because like it does somewhat impact his bodily movements. It does slow him down. Even in the Kage Summit, like he's not able to like accurately move like after using it, even against Sasuke, even with like a far more developed Kakashi. So this is definitely one of those things that would come about as a last resort if maybe they're getting pressed or whatnot. But I will say generally, I do think Kakashi and Guy have an easier time against Sasori and Deidara, if not for the fact that they're all relative, that Kakashi is a good matchup against them as well. With Guy being support and the Guy having the capability to like, you could even argue like with 7th gate if he does decide to go into that, because it's not as threatening for him as it is for Kakashi. Like if he goes into 7th gate, he's just really tired. Like, maybe his muscle fibers rip apart a little bit, but he's just like, he just needs to rest. That's what's been like presented. He can get healed from that. So that can blow away a lot of what like Sasori and Deidara do. Like if Sasori chucks like an iron sand block at my Guy, or a Guy, can he just like Hirodora it back, or like with the air pressure like blow it away? You know what I mean? So I will say like we generally lean towards Kakashi and Guy at this time frame, just due to this matchup, them having a good matchup, as well as them having like the ability as their last resorts to like unleash these like large scale or like precision based attacks that are a definitive speed tier above them. I think that's a good way of like wrapping it up. Do you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I do feel like they have the edge. But just to quickly address a couple more things, some people might feel like we glossed over Deidara, because we mostly talked about Sasori, but Deidara's arsenal here is good for applying pressure.
Yeah.
But his big attacks just aren't going to do anything. C3 can get Kamui'd away.
Yeah.
C0 is going to get Kamui'd away. Like, he's going to be monologuing about his ultimate art, and Kakashi just uses Kamui.
Yeah.
Then we also have, like, C4, which Kakashi can perceive, and he probably can run Chakra through himself and Guide to neutralize it.
Yeah.
And another thing with Deidara and Sasori, like New Horizons, like your boy brought this up in one of his videos. What if Deidara and Sasori just sort of hop on one of the birds, and then Sasori just uses the iron sand as a shield while Deidara bombards them from the sky? I feel like that might be a winning strategy, because we have to remember Kakashi has very limited stamina here.
Yeah.
Like in the Pain arc, he uses a Lightning Shadow Claw and a Lightning Hound, 2 Raikiri, I believe, and then 2 Kamui, and he's dead. Which, like, now that I say it out loud, does sound like quite a bit of stuff. But if the fight drags on, he will get fatigued, and Guy can use the 6th gate for a while, but he can't use it indefinitely.
Yeah.
7th gate is gonna leave him a lot, like, tired out. So, I do feel like if Sasori and Deidara are able to play the long game, they might be able to pull it off. But overall, Kakashi and Guy definitely should be able to take it, especially when Guy can just pull out the Hirodora and just like swallow them up and blow them out of the air at any point, pretty much. Yeah,
I definitely agree. Like Iron Sand is probably one of their better assets in this matchup, just because it's so durable and it's not gonna be able to just be like smashed through that. There are some strategies that can be employed with that, especially if like maybe even like what if like the Iron Sand that's like coating Deidara's, or what if the iron sand that's like covering Deidara's explosives also has poison, which it would, because he's sand grade has it. Like you just have poison like shooting outward as the sand shoots out. You know what I'm saying? So there are some winning strategies here. Don't get that mistaken, especially with like all the factors at play. It's just that the Kakashi and Guy kind of have like these ace card moves up their sleeve, which are very useful in this situation.
Yeah, what if like Deidara implants a few sand needles in his bombs and they're just like shrapnel bombs?
Oh
just,
my
god!
god!
Sand goes flying in every direction.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy. So no, it is a bit of an interesting matchup, but we generally lean towards Kakashi and Guy in this case, so we'll give them the clear.
Yeah, I feel like mid to high difficulty.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we have Hidan and Kakuzu. Same arc for Kakashi and Guy as like the previous arc, just as discussed. Now. This is I'm gonna just outright say it. Hidan's not doing much here, and it happens every video. I say the same thing every video, and I feel bad about it. But like, Hidan just isn't Kakashi or Guy level. The only times he really shows like any degree of relativity to Kakashi or Guy is when like Kakashi is like defending him. The same Kakashi that's like been using chakra and like, you know, up in that fight, and like, you know, just he's just running away from Hidan. Like, it doesn't really make like that much. And you know, there's just not too much for Hidan. He's honestly like the slacker in the group. I can't necessarily see him tagging. Well, you know, we already know he's not tagging Kakashi, but he's definitely not tagging Guy in basic taijutsu. The same guy who just like can look at people's feet and figure out how to fight them somehow. Like that, he's like, he fights precog users on the daily. So no, Guy, like the same guy who in base was like, you know, this is obviously a stronger guy, but like able to contend with white mask Obito, like he's able to perform shit like that. No, that Hidan's not doing any of that. You know what I mean? Especially if Guy brings up the nunchuck. So, you know, and it sucks to say, because I will say, like, we're both of this opinion that like Kakuzu's kind of underrated in the community. Like, he's become overrated, but then at the same time, because he's so overrated, he becomes underrated at the same time, which is unfortunate that becomes the case. Do you want to talk about this for a little bit? Just Kakuzu real quick, because we just talked about Hidan.
Yeah, poor Hidan, though.
Yeah,
like, he's cool. Like, I want him to do better, but like, a better matchup for him would be like against the Sound 5 or something.
Yeah. It, honestly, like, and I'll say this, like, I do want to make this a video. Like, someone recommended like Hidan running like a Jonin gauntlet of sorts, which I do think could be interesting. Because you know what I mean. But it's like, it just sucks. It sucks because like his arsenal, like if it's just not suited to a lot of these people. You know what I'm saying? He like a lot of like he has a lot of self admissions via statements as well.
Yeah. So for Kakuzu, okay, first of all, even if you think he's KCM level speed, like even if you think that, it's not in character for him to use it, unironically. Because he did not just speed blitz everybody in that battle. He was like, he saw Naruto, he's like, oh yeah, this jutsu, I can't get hit by it. And then he gets hit by it twice. Like he does even if you say he's KCM speed, he's not using it in character for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But with Kakuzu, like you said, I feel like he's starting to get a little bit underrated because people now say he's like just relative to Kakashi. When in that fight, base to base, they are sort of relative, but he's just able to overwhelm Kakashi with jutsu all the time. And he's able to pressure Kakashi a lot. He's able to use jutsu as distractions to get Kakashi pinned to the ground and stuff like that. And then with the hearts like inside of him, he gets stronger and faster. It's like blatantly stated he's got more chakra. And then he's able to perform better feats than he did in base, just speed-wise. Because in the anime, he like sort of catches Kakashi off guard with the strings from underground. But in the manga, he's just standing in front of Kakashi, and then we cut away, and then the next panel, he already has Kakashi wrapped up in his strings, like he just caught him. And Naruto, who's supposed to be relative to Kakashi, also just gets blitzed multiple times by him.
Yeah.
Like, his clones get blitzed. But then at the same time, Naruto appears behind, like, first of all, Naruto makes 2 shadow clones and this giant jutsu that Kakuzu's like, yeah, I cannot get hit by this. Then the clones start running at him. He takes care of the clones. He just completely forgets about the real Naruto. The real Naruto appears behind him. He's like, That's literally what he says on
looks
panel.
around. Yeah. And it's...
And Naruto's like several meters away. Like, couldn't Kakuzu just like have turned around and jumped away? But like even then, he like turns around and tries to grab Naruto, but Naruto just dodges and then it blatantly like hits him. If the Rasen Shuriken hadn't fizzled out, that would have been the end of it.
Yeah.
And Kakashi is supposed to be relative to this Naruto, and then Guy can go a tier above that with the 7th gate.
Yeah.
And then you also talked about the Earth Heart. Like, do you want to mention that a bit?
Yeah, real quick. I'm gonna mention that because I want to talk about one thing real quick before that. I'll say this. It also, like, to be fair to Kakuzu, it's not like he didn't have a good fight because, for example, right, his final form, you could argue it would have been far stronger if he actually had all his hearts. Like, he didn't have all his hearts. He had 2 of them ripped out, which, you know, means that, like, okay, he probably does have more to showcase in this fight. You know, like, and he had a crazy showing. Like, he's matching like Kakashi's Raikiri, like, which is, you know, probably one of the highest levels of lightning release in the series, with his like heart, just his lightning heart basic. But, you know, he did kind of have like you know, an unfortunate like counter strategy against him. He wasn't able to get to his max power, and it is a bit hypothetical because we just don't know how strong he would have been at that point if he had all his hearts. So, you know, we know he gains a speed tier. He also can go long range. He can change his strategy up. So he really is an underrated fighter. And it just kind of sucks. Like, even this arc is like, and we've talked about this before, but like that arc is like very short. Like it got clipped very shortly. Yeah.
I've heard rumors that like the studio was rushing him to get to like the next arc or something like that. Plus, wasn't he like sick when he was writing this too?
I think I've heard that too.
He had like back problems, and then he wanted to just wrap it up quickly.
Yeah.
So I feel like we got cheated out of a big fight with Kakuzu because he has all these intelligence feats. He's able to like dissect Shikamaru and Kakashi's strategies. He's able to like be pretty relative to them in terms of intelligence. And then he just gets caught off guard by like the most basic strategies and the most basic like counter like distractions.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
It is, yeah.
But also, like, he never actually loses the Earth Heart. Well, actually, he does later on in the fight, but like before the whole plan with Shikamaru happens, he had the Diamond Morph Heart and he just wasn't using it.
Yeah.
Then later, like, Hidan destroys it, like, from his body. We were actually talking about this before the recording. I just remembered he does get it destroyed.
Yeah.
By Shikamaru's plan. But yeah, like, he can't use Diamond Morph anymore. But how much would that even help against the Rasen Shuriken? Because most of his back was just strings at that point.
Yeah.
So, like, would it cover the strings? I doubt that. It would just cover his face and legs and hands, I think. Like, that's about it.
Something also I gotta say this real quick. I'm sorry. I gotta say this too. Something to consider with Diamond Morph, just while you're on the topic. And also, like, that book talks about it. It very much talks about, like, the heart and body part cannot be moved. So there is, like, a limiting mobility factor, too. So, like, it's not like, you know, he can move with, like, the diamond hardening, but, like, for example, like, he probably doesn't have to, he probably makes it so his feet aren't hardened or anything to that degree. So there probably is some question as well as, like, how mobile is this dude really going to be with his diamond morph? Because a lot of the times we see Kakuzu, he just makes his fist hardened. The only time we really see him make his whole body, Kakashi pulls up behind him and then Raikiris him behind. So that's an interesting point I wanted to bring up as well, you know, just side point. But continue what you were saying.
That pretty much finished the point. It's just that, like, he had the Diamond Morph for a while, then he lost it, but it wouldn't really have made that much of a difference in any case. And even if you want to say that he would have gotten stronger with the hearts, which is a fair thing to say, if he absorbed all of them into his body, he doesn't do so in character until he's down a few hearts. Like, that's when he does it in character. So it still wouldn't be that full power Kakuzu, like, hypothetical. People also like to hype up the whole Kakuzu kicking Kakashi while he's down thing.
Oh, man.
But, like, in the manga, it's even unclear. Like, Kakashi initiates movement. Like, he takes a step.
Yeah, speed lines, yeah.
But we don't know what else. Like, we don't know if he traveled any distance at all. Because Kakuzu was, like, right in front of him in the manga. And then Kakashi, like, takes a step, and then Kakuzu's, like, kicking him. So he didn't travel any distance at all. Nah. He just sort of was starting to initiate the movement and then got kicked. His eyes were on Hidan, like, he's not looking at Kakuzu or anything.
Yeah.
So it's just something that does get overhyped. But I feel like when it comes to this match, because we've been talking about Kakuzu for a bit here.
Yeah.
When it comes to the matchup, we have Kakashi, who's not going to have to worry about Ino or Choji here. And he was already, like, sort of pushing Kakuzu a little bit. He was getting overwhelmed. But now we have Guy, like, this taijutsu just master god, like, Grand League champion that can just go up close to... He can just go up close to, like, Kakuzu at any point to just start boxing him up. Kakuzu's best taijutsu feats are, like, brawling with the tailed beasts, like the Maratabi. Which, you know, she's like one of the weakest tailed beasts, but like it's a good feat. But Kakashi with the 7th gate should be able to just perform similar feats. And then the Hirodora is just blowing him out of the water. Even if you want to say Diamond Hardening could tank it, like, I don't know. I don't think it could. If you say it can, then Guy should be like out of the battle for a little while, which might give Kakuzu an edge. Because, like, if he survives like Eurodora, but I don't think he would.
Yeah. Maybe if you're, like, you want to say, like, okay, Kisame kind of tanked it, so maybe, like, Guy could. But then, like, or, like, Kakuzu could. But even then, like, we did know that Guy did want, like, intel from Kisame at that point. So maybe, like, it wasn't, like, as powerful as it could have been. You know, there are some factors there. So, you know, I will say, like, if not for the fact that, like, Kakashi's a natural counter to Kakuzu, Guy is going to be fine in taking down those hearts. He should have no issues taking them down in the 6th gate. He's literally matching Kakashi's top speed in the 6th gate, and Kakashi is able to dodge the hearts consistently or like block their attacks or anything like that. So he shouldn't have too much trouble. And Kakashi in the original fight, there was a lot of instances where like Kakuzu's distracting him with or like he's basically using the cover of the like enhanced, like for example, like the enhanced like wind fire combo. He's like using that as cover to come up behind Kakashi and like smack him down and stuff like that. And like Kakashi also does have to somewhat like worry about Ino and Choji, who are just garbage support, absolutely worthless. Oh my god, nothing. Yeah. I've never seen less support in my life. So when you actually add somebody who's like very arguably like comparable or stronger to Kakashi, it does change the fight up. And this also being Kakashi would honestly, in my opinion, be more prone to use Kamui in this fight. Maybe you could say like it might not be as precise still to the point it'd be able to like take down Kakuzu. You know, similar to how Deidara, like the precision wasn't there, but Deidara also was kind of moving in the air. So maybe you could say like on the ground, it'd be a little different or something to that degree. So, you know, there is something to that as well. But, you know, I generally see like Guy being way better support. And eventually, like if the hearts do start getting taken down like individually, because they can get defeated by themselves. It doesn't really happen in the fight. Like they don't really get taken out, but like just because like they're either taken out via Kakuzu's heart, getting taken out by Hidan, but in the war arc they're actually just blatantly defeated. Like each heart is just taken out individually, so it is possible to just like individually just clap them. So you know, I definitely see a case being made for that. All Kakashi really has to do is stall Kakuzu for Guy to take down the hearts, and even if he takes him down, if Kakashi kind of gets to a similar point, you know, it'll just be like he would just argue he'd be less fatigued because he's not dealing as much, and Guy would just be better support, in which case it would just be like Kakashi and Guy versus fused Kakuzu with less hearts, like kind of a similar situation. Yeah.
And even if you think like somehow, some way Kakuzu tanks a Hirodor, like maybe you think he thinks stale beast bombs are like not above him because he says he can't be hurt by physical attacks. You know, that's one of the better wanks for Kakuzu.
Yeah.
So even if you want to say that, all the hearts are gone. Like right off the bat, Diamond Hardening is not covering them. Like even if he's fused, like all the hearts are just gone.
Yeah.
And then you're left with a fatigued Guy and Kakashi going up against just base Kakuzu without any jutsu whatsoever. Except the Diamond Morph, I guess. And then Kakashi does also imply that he can near-death Kakuzu with the Kamui. Like, he says, like, oh, I didn't even have to use Kamui this time, so he's implying that he would have used it if Naruto hadn't arrived.
Yeah.
And, like, at that point, it's, like, implied that he would have been hospitalized, but he would have taken down Kakuzu. And like you said, he might be, like, more willing to use Kamui here because he has a better lifeline. Like, even if he fails, Guy can just bail him out.
Yeah, carry him. Like, there's no, like, Guy's done it, like, before, yeah.
Yeah. So I do feel like overall, it's just like gonna be Guy and Kakashi sort of zipping around, taking down the mask. Hidan is just gonna get like off in the first minute of the fight.
Obliterated.
Kakuzu is probably like, it's either gonna be Kakuzu and the masks versus Kakashi and Guy as a duo, or one of them distracts Kakuzu while the other takes down the masks, which they both should be capable of doing. There's also something to say about Kakuzu's hearts and their speed. The Wind Mask can blatantly get dodged by Kakashi.
Yeah.
The Fire Mask can blatantly get dodged by Ino and Choji.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Keep talking. I'm sorry. That was fun.
And then the Lightning Mask can blatantly blitz Choji and Ino from a distance to the point that Kakashi has to jump in and save them. So Kakashi should be like at least relative to the Lightning Mask, but then the Fire Mask is just slow. That's like the only way to put it.
Yeah.
Kakashi is also dodging it all throughout the battle while also fighting Hidan. The Wind Mask is also below Kakashi's speed. The Water Mask, we just don't see it.
Yeah.
So the Lightning Mask is really the only one that's threatening to these guys that could maybe tag them. But otherwise, they should be able to dodge the others.
And I'll say that's actually very consistent with Raiton being like, because when Raiton's used, it's like more described as like a speed amp, or it's like the more so the fastest of the nature releases, like it's a high speed technique. So that's very consistent with like what's been pre-established in the series as well. Just the Lightning Mask being the fastest, then Kakashi can react to it and even counteract it. So that's all just great consistency all around.
In the anime, the masks do kind of react to Kakashi a little bit, but it's like when he's used up a lot of chakra already, he wouldn't have to use up that much chakra here. Because he used like 4 Raikiri before like taking on the hearts in the anime. So he shouldn't be fatigued here. He should be able to take down the mask. Same with Guy. And then both of them just teaming up on Kakuzu, they would just take the W most likely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think in a similar difficulty to the previous one, maybe a little easier in my opinion, just due to the fact that so I think actually they would take it a bit easier just due to the fact that Kakuzu carries this duo ridiculously hard. It's kind of mad. Whereas Sasori and Deidara are a lot more comparable, regardless of which one you think is stronger. They are like the fact that Sasori versus Deidara is a debate should just be telling enough. That's what I'll say about that.
Yeah. It's sort of like with these pairs, how do they compare? I do feel Kakuzu is definitely relative to Sasori and Deidara, maybe even a little bit above if you take some lore.
Yeah.
But then you have like one Deidara Sasori level character versus two Deidara Sasori level characters on the team. So it's just like that's how they compare. But Kakuzu is better suited to take on this duo, I feel. Because of the Diamond Morph, basically. Like that's the main thing. He's more capable of dealing with multiple opponents, I feel, than Sasori and Deidara are.
Yeah, I agree. He's just he's more of like he has a lot of crowd control. I'll say that. And his jutsu potency is nothing to sneeze at. I don't think it's gonna be really tagging anybody, but if it does hit, or maybe Kakashi has to play a little defensively, there could definitely be some situations there. But generally, I like how you summed it up with like the example of like these tiers of fighters. I generally think I would say like I don't know, mid to high diff, arbitrary way to say it. Yeah. Next up, we have Itachi and Kisame. What?
My boy. My boy.
Lead us into this one, bro. Talk about it. Preach to what's happening in this matchup. We'll also be using Kakashi and Guy in the pain arcs in this fight, but we'll talk about like their later versions as well.
Okay, so Kisame is really weird throughout the series because in part 1 he gets blown back by base Guy. In Shippuden, as his 30% clone is able to force Guy into the 6th gate. Then in the B fight, base Kisame is like relative to version 1B. And then he's below version 2B.
Yep.
And then in the waterfall fight, base Kisame just instantly forces Guy into the 6th gate. Like, Guy's like, yep, I need the 6th gate to fight this guy. Like, he brushes off base Guy like nothing.
Yeah.
And he's like fatigued. He's like starving, chakra deprived, probably sleep deprived as well. Like, he's just so weak at that point that he needs to absorb a little bit of base B and like Aoba's chakras just to like be able to regain his muscle mass. And then he's able to force Guy into the 7th gate and actually be relative to him. Like, they shoot their jutsu at the same speed and their jutsu fly at the exact same speed, like on panel. You can also argue that the Hirodora is just above regular 7th gate Guy speed as well. Because Jubidara is able to dodge 7th gate Guy, like base 7th gate Guy, with little difficulty. And then he tries to take a swipe at Guy and Guy's actually able to unleash a Hirodora and blow him back. Now, I'm not saying Kisame is relative to Jubidara. Like, no, definitely not. The guy gets stronger.
No, bro.
But just saying that, Guy's speed is below the Hirodora's consistently. And then you have this Kisame who should be way weaker than he was in the B fight, actually keeping up. And, like, that's crazy because 7th gate Guy is above KCM Naruto pretty consistently. Because 6th gate Guy is already keeping up with KCM Naruto levels of speed. So it's like super weird with Kisame, like where you want to take him. But for this fight, we can just say consistently he should be like capable of pretty easily handling 6th gate. And then he should be like high diffing 7th gate in terms of like how much he can keep up. So it would be like mid to easy like keeping up with 6th gate. But then with the 7th gate, he should be like having a hard time keeping up but still being able to manage.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the most consistent way to put him in this matchup.
Yeah.
Sorry for the whole rant, but
no, we need to talk about it. I want to say this too, just to like add on to what you're saying. This is one of those matchups where we can accurately determine like who's gonna fight who, because literally like Kisame has beef with Guy and Kakashi has beef with Itachi. It's really funny. Like these are like their like arsenals are kind of like suited for one another. At least like Guy's is for Kisame's, but like Sharingan versus Sharingan. So this is the type of thing where like if these two fought each other, I would like these 2v2s. It would definitely be a situation of like, all right, I'm going over here with him. We're going over there. Like it's straight up once because they got problems. So
yeah, and Kakashi is gonna be like, yo, Guy, I know Itachi, how he fights. I've seen Tsukuyomi.
Yeah.
And you said this off recording too. Like he should probably have some kind of countermeasure to Tsukuyomi because he's experienced it before.
Yeah.
And he's like talking to Itachi, like, how much of your eyesight has degraded?
He's talking
like,
crazy. He's talking crazy. I'm like, whoa. And I'll say this, like, you do see some of this strategy employed because he like he's doing what he does versus Pain, whereas like he's strictly fighting Itachi with like shadow clones. Like even when he's like the 30% Itachi clone genjutsus him, that's a shadow clone. So Kakashi's like not playing around with him at all. Like he's like, no, you caught me lacking. Like this is not happening again. So keep going. I'm sorry, I had to throw that in.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all good. But then we also have to go into like the speed of Kakashi versus Itachi because like we already talked about before, this Kakashi, just in terms of base speed at least, should be around like beginning of Shippuden Sasuke level.
Yeah.
And then a stronger Sasuke, like heavy Sasuke with Orochimaru absorbed, is sort of able to press this Itachi, but Itachi is also able to press back hard. There are moments in the fight, like you said before the recording as well, that Itachi can weave hand signs without Sasuke noticing. He can use throws as diversions and then just appear right in front of Sasuke and just kick him in the stomach.
He's playing
I
with
will
him.
say that happened in the Genjutsu, but still, like,
it
should be like indicative of their speed. But then he also does get genuinely surprised by the rigged shuriken.
Yes.
And he's not able to dodge it. Like, he should be able to just place his hand on the ground and just sort of, like, move out of the way, probably. Like, push himself off the shuriken's path.
Yeah.
But he just can't. And like you also said, he is, like, it's in his best interest to not lose stamina here and to not take damage. Like, you can go into that.
Yeah, we were talking about this, but there's I'll say this for a couple things on Itachi too. Itachi's like actual eyesight is also extremely like it's not good. Every time they show up from Itachi's perspective, it's like Sasuke's blurred out or his like eyesight is not like good. Like he's not able to accurately perceive Sasuke. So on top of like, him trying to sandbag this fight, he's sick. On top of his eyesight being degraded. So just keep that in mind. But I will say this, we talked about this, but it's not because of the way Itachi has to force Orochimaru out. And this, he basically has to force Sasuke to his absolute limit and beyond to force Orochimaru out of him. And this is actually how you can tell, like, when Sasuke's pushed in his fight. Like, he's not pushed to this degree with Deidara. That's kind of like why I always imply, like, Sasuke might be a little stronger since Deidara never pushes him to that level of fatigue or anything like that. But in Itachi's case, it's not in his interest to take damage early in the fight. Yet, he still gets hit with this rigged shuriken anyway, which doesn't benefit him. Like, he still isn't pressing Sasuke enough. So him letting Sasuke hit him there serves him no purpose and actually like goes against his goal in that encounter. So I would generally say like, it's a good feat for Sasuke and just kind of shows like Sasuke can catch Itachi lacking. And I want to make it clear, Itachi's like, because someone's going to say Itachi is like sandbagging this fight, sick, no eyesight, all this shit. But he still does give Sasuke credit that Sasuke has improved dramatically and he is pretty strong. So I do think you can, like, a lot of people like to just, my point is, like, a lot of people like to just dismiss Sasuke's performance in this fight. Like, and I get it. It's easy to do. But I do think he does have some impressive showings in this fight is what we're getting at. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I feel like Sasuke does sort of press Itachi a little bit. But I feel like also Itachi could just end the fight whenever he wants to with like the Totsuka blade and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But it's still like they're somewhat relative in speed. And Kakashi is still below this Sasuke, at least base speed. Like maybe with Raikiri he could amp himself to be like above the Sasuke slightly. But then Itachi should be able to react to this. And Itachi doesn't have any sort of like I want to keep you alive mentality here. Like he's gonna be bloodthirsty here.
Yeah.
So, if at any point he decides to pull out the Susanoo or like Amaterasu, he should be able to attack Kakashi with those attacks that are like very high speed.
But the bottom line here is that and we talked about this like off Naruto's like previous Rasen Shuriken lore. This Sasuke should be very comparable to this Kakashi. And Itachi's like has all these non-factors going for him, holding back all this stuff, and he's still like pretty much dominating throughout the fight. And like you said, like if he's bloodthirsty, there's definitely a big difference. Obviously Kakashi wouldn't just make his initial approach, he wouldn't just go in and try and like beat Tsukuyomi 1v1. He would try and play around. But the bottom line is like he's just not going to be able to like push Itachi to that same degree with his base arsenal. I believe even in the anime, and this is kind of like, this doesn't really matter too much, but like Itachi's 30% Kisame or 30% clone dodges Kakashi's Raikiri like initially.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's like absolutely absurd. So no, Itachi really is just absolutely absurd at this point. So there also is like his base stats. Itachi should be coming out ahead. Even if his eyesight's deteriorated, he definitely has that arsenal advantage. One of the main things and only things, in my opinion, for Kakashi in this case, like even though he's prepped for Itachi, he still doesn't have full knowledge on all of Itachi. Is Kamui. What's your opinion on like Itachi versus Kamui? Because that's the big one.
So first off, Itachi wouldn't know about Kamui. The only way he could know is if he talked to Deidara, and we know those guys don't vibe with each other at all. Like Itachi, even if he wanted to, even if he was like curious about the leaf, he's like, yo, Deidara, you fought Kakashi, how's Kakashi doing? Deidara would just probably be like flip him off. Like,
he literally gave him 2 words when describing Naruto. He did not, they don't like each other at all. It's clear.
Yeah, like, because Deidara is literally preparing C4 to kill Itachi. Like, he says that verbatim.
It's crazy. It's the beef is crazy.
Yeah, so Itachi wouldn't know about Kamui. And we know that Kamui is like such a blitz tier above Kakashi that it's actually able to just completely like perception blitz Pain.
Yeah.
Because Pain isn't able to see it when Kakashi Kamui is away the nail. And then later on, we see Sasuke Susanoo arrow just completely blitzes Kakashi. Like, Kakashi can't move a finger and while it's going at him. And he's able to just Kamui it away still. So it's like such a blitz tier above him that if he chooses to, if it's in character for him to do so, he might actually be able to like Kamui Itachi in the chest or head and just sort of kill him.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually a possibility. But you'd have to say that he would actually be willing to do that in character, which we never see him do. He sort of implies that he might have done that to Kakuzu, because like I didn't even have to use Mangekyo this time, you know, that whole stuff.
Yeah.
So it's weird, but I feel like even then, Itachi is more likely to win before that Kamui idea like comes out.
Yeah, just because like the nature of his arsenal is like instant W. And I'll say this, like, this is especially true if you believe like this Itachi is still stronger than 5 Kage Summit Sasuke, which I think there's a good deal of consistency for. Obviously, maybe like you know, their eyesight being they obviously have different points in their eyesights, like and like Itachi's illness, but you know, I think it is pretty clear Sasuke. It's he's still not fully above Itachi. Even Danzo kind of throws a little shade at him. So if you kind of go off that route too, you could maybe argue Itachi would also be confidently above Kakashi. That being a stronger Kakashi, arguably, than the 5 Kage Summit one. But Kakashi, I think what we're getting at is that, like, Kakashi's best win con is like so out of character and unlikely. Yeah. And even then, like, it's like what if Itachi just, like, if you're gonna argue, right, that like, okay, Kakashi Kamui's all right, Itachi's reaction speed like scales to the Kamui. Yadamir block. How does that happen? What goes down? You know what I mean? So it's even debatable. Yeah. I would argue. And maybe you could say like Kakashi would like Kamui through the Susanoo. I personally don't see that happening. But you know, it's just there are cases to be made. But yeah, that's, and then so in which case, like, if and this is the way I've looked at it, if either side wins, whereas like Itachi and Kisame are generally stronger than their counterparts, if that does happen, then they're just gonna go assist the other fighter, and that's gonna be the end of the fight, unless they're like talked about to like not intervene. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For Guy versus Kisame, this is gonna be the Kisame from the B fight. So he doesn't have that weird War Arc Zenkai boost.
Yeah.
So he should be like relative to 7th Gate Guy pre-war as well, like Pain Arc, because Guy gets like big boosts of power all the time, like as well with the other cast, with Kakashi, Naruto, stuff like that. So they should just be like relative. In the 6th Gate, Kisame is gonna be handling that pretty well, like with moderate difficulty at most. 7th Gate is gonna come out. If it comes out, then Kisame's best bet would probably be to like try to use the Shark Bomb, or fuse with Samehada. He could like try to flood the battlefield as well. Like, if friendly fire is on, that would be pretty funny if he just water domes Itachi too. But you know, they should be fighting longer than Kakashi and Itachi.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And no matter who you think wins that one, like Itachi is gonna come assist Kisame at some point, and it's not Kisame versus Guy is not gonna be like a short fight with both of them just going right into their aces.
Nah.
Like we see them fighting, we see that they do not go to their ace moves right off the bat against each other. So unless Guy is close enough to Kakashi to see him like struggling and dying, then I guess he would go into like the 7th gate because he'd be mad at Itachi. But even then, like Itachi and Kisame together should just be able to take care of Guy. Even like Itachi could just like jump in and protect Kisame with a Yara mirror against the Hirodora maybe. And then if we want to talk about like them as duos, like if they don't split up, then it's just gonna be even easier, I feel like, for Kisame and Guy.
Yeah.
For
Itachi.
Kisame and Itachi.
Yeah.
Because now they can just cover each other's backs and just sort of like work off each other. Kisame is like this massive physical force. Like, what if like Kisame sort of just puts Itachi on his back, like Itachi piggybacks on him, and then just uses Genjutsu on everybody? Like Kisame presses Guy and Kakashi enough so that they have to like look at him, and then Itachi just takes the opportunity to like Amaterasu or Genjutsu them.
Yeah, Itachi benefits the most from like distractions in this fight. He really does. Like anything that like happens, like he benefits the most. So you know, I think with all these factors, obviously there's more to it, but you know, this is like a very interesting topic. We do lean towards Itachi and Kisame. They honestly like should be above both these characters individually. Even if you were to argue like Kisame and Guy is like debatable, Itachi versus Kakashi just isn't at this point. He just still isn't at that point. Even if you were to say like there's even more implications for this, like just another one to throw out, like Kakashi still thinks he's below Jiraiya. You know what I mean? Like in the Pain arc, like he's wondering how Jiraiya like took down the Paths of Pain, and like Itachi scales above with his base Sharingan, like Orochimaru and stuff like that. So it's just like he's still consistently like above the Sannin tier, which like Kakashi's like debatably on during this arc. So you know, maybe you could argue it's kind of questionable, but yeah, we lean towards Itachi Kisame.
Yeah, there's definitely something to talk about with Orochimaru there, because this is like a much younger Orochimaru. But even in part 2, he says like, yeah, Orochimaru says that, yeah, Itachi's still stronger than me.
Exactly.
So it's like he still like has PTSD from Itachi from all those years ago.
He's done. And this is consistent with like him coming back in his strongest form and just getting speed blitzed instantly by the Totsuka blade. It's so bad. Yeah. So it's like, you know.
Yeah, but to give credit to Orochimaru, he's like fighting the Susanoo, he's shaking a little, and he's not worried about it at all.
Not at all. Yeah, he doesn't. He thinks he could regen and take it. Like it's actually crazy. So it's like, you know, it's ridiculous.
But even if we say that they switch opponents for some reason, Kisame can steal away like 6 tails of version 1 chakra in one swing with Samehada. And in the fusion form, he's able to like steal away all of Gyuki's chakra. Like there's actually a statement from Gyuki himself that yeah, he's lost most of his chakra. And let's say for some reason like they switch opponents, maybe like Kisame goes up against Kakashi. The funny thing there is one swing from Samehada can steal away 6 tails of version 1 chakra. And then if Kisame is fused, he can steal away the full 8 tails chakra in minutes, like with just a few short exchanges. And Kakashi is like nowhere near those levels of chakra. So like one swing or one touch from Kisame might just actually insta-kill him. Like he might just drain all of his chakra instantly. Yeah,
he does not have the chakra reserves to take any of Kisame's absorption. It's not good at all. Not good at all. He does not. Yeah. He's gonna get it ripped off. It's just like even like B like got it ripped off so much that he like couldn't. It was like detrimental to him in the fight. It was ridiculous. And I fully agree.
Yeah. And then Guy versus Itachi is more interesting, but then Kisame is just gonna come over and help again. So it's just overall in Kisame and Itachi's favor. Like maybe not low diff, but like mid diff probably.
Yeah. And last up, we have Pain and Konan versus Kakashi and Guy in the Pain arc. And we'll just assume that this is full power Pain for just transparency, and that they're just chilling in like the crater in the leaf, and like Guy Kakashi pull up.
Kakashi got like revived by one of his teammates or something.
Yeah. And I'll start off by saying this: like Kakashi versus Pain at this point just isn't close at all. Yeah, honestly, I think the only Kakashi that could really tango with Pain is War Arc Pain, War Arc Kakashi, just due to how he's literally like chakra fatiguing himself to try and figure out what one path of Pain does, like ability wise. Like he's not able to land anything. Pain's confidently dealing with all of his like attempts to tag him. He tags him in like at the beginning of the fight instantly, like and just dodges Raikiri. So Pain is confidently above Kakashi. He's just a tier above. It's made clear. He gives him credit, but like in terms of like base Kakashi's arsenal, the only way like Kakashi can contend with the Diva path is really with Kamui, and even then, like I would argue like that's not including the other paths of Pain. So it's like it's really just like Pain's just his own animal. Do you have anything to add to that?
And it's pretty self-explanatory. Like some people like to say that Kakashi dodged a kick. Right after that kick, Pain says, "Oh, Kakashi Harake, nice to meet you. Where's Naruto?"
Yeah.
Like he's just trying to get intel, and then when he resolves himself to killing Kakashi, he first up just walks up slowly to him because he's confident, but then Kakashi actually pulls off a strat. And then Pain's like, okay, this guy's actually dangerous. Let me just one Shinra Tensei, and that's it. Like, everybody just dies right there and then.
Yeah.
Like, Chozo, Choji, they're just knocked out cold. Kakashi's, like, in debris, like, just can't move at all. And then Pain's like, okay, like, I was confident before. You kind of, like, got a strat on me. So, just in case, I'm just gonna be careful. I'm gonna snipe you from a distance.
Exactly.
And that Kamui is crazy, but it's not in character for him to use. Like, Kakashi just genuinely did not use it against Pain. So,
yeah.
And that was just Tendo. Like, not even Asura, because Asura got taken out, like, early in the fight.
I chose you and Chozo.
He wasn't, like, fully taken out. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Nah.
But then you have, like, all other paths of Pain on top of that, which are all Sage Jiraiya speed, at least. Because they're all, like, blocking attacks from him. There's like 2 times Jiraiya attacks Pain, and one time you can argue like Jiraiya was mental amped, and Pain was caught off guard because he wasn't expecting like a speed increase, because he doesn't know what Sage Mode is. And then another time, the Animal Path is just in a really disadvantageous position in the air. Like he can't grab onto anything or anything, like he can't dodge at all. So all other times, like Pain can react to his fastest jutsu and stuff like that. So Kakashi, even if we're generous and say that he's like Sage Jiraiya speed, it's still not enough. Like each individual path, with maybe the exception of Naraka, can just react to those speeds. And then Guy is more complicated. We can talk about him a bit later.
Yeah.
We can also mention Konan. Like, what do you think Konan's doing in this fight?
I think, she's very honestly like support and annoyance for like on top of like these people who are gonna get overwhelmed. We were kind of discussing this. Like, we're on the opinion she's like on that base Sanin tier. Maybe you could argue like she has like maybe a nerf, like mentally speaking, against Pain. Like even Pain kind of alludes this, like, are you really ready to kill Jiraiya? Can you do that? I don't know. So maybe you could say that. If you didn't, you could say maybe she like goes more confidently to like base Jiraiya or like Sage Mode Jiraiya. But like that base Sanin tier does seem consistent for her. I will say this. I think Conan's impressive with her bombs. They're able to blow off like Obito's arms and stuff like that. A lot of people have this notion that she'll just like explode, like she'll pull like a Edo Tobirama and like tandem paper bomb the battlefield, which is just like she if she like blows up, like she dies too. It's like she gets blown up as well, so she can't do that. So the way I see her in this fight, like she is somewhat relevant. She's obviously not the main force. She's just kind of like support for Pain, which is just like yeah.
And then Guy is like the most complicated case here. Because like 6th Gate is relative to like Raikiri Kakashi, which we already saw Asura and Tendo outspeed twice. So it's not really, the 6th Gate is just not going to be enough at all. And even if you want to say like, Sage Naruto is like also not able to tag these Pains, like in terms of just close quarters combat, because Kreda is actually able to dodge his punch, but he just gets hit with Prokumite. The Animal Path is also able to trade blows with him mid-air. So they're all like sort of relative to Sage Naruto. It's only when the Rasen Shuriken comes out, which at that point they start to not be able to react that well. But even then, it's sort of just the Animal Path, which might be like Nagato's controlling multiple Pains at that point, so maybe he's just dispersing chakra through all of them. Maybe they're just not as fast as they could be. But in any case, like, Pain is still able to react to 6th Gate Guy confidently. 7th Gate is where things get interesting. Because we know that Pain's like a tier above Kakashi, but so is 7th Gate Guy. So Tendo and versus 7th Gate Guy might actually be kind of similar to like Tendo versus Six Tails Naruto.
Yeah.
If you want to go there. But like Sage Naruto is also a tier above Kakashi, so it's like... It's kind of weird because you have like Kakashi, then a tier above you have Sage Naruto, then a tier above you have Six Tails Naruto. Whereas Tendo is like contending with Six Tails Naruto in terms of speed. In the anime, they're very relative. In the manga, they're maybe a little bit less relative, but still like Tendo's reacting to him.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What would happen with 7th Gate Guy versus the Pains?
7th Gate Guy is interesting because it's like it's one of those things that if he can definitely catch a couple bodies off of it. But you know there is the chance like if he actually misses the Naraka path. That is so bad for him because it's just going to start bringing back the other pains and like guys going to be fatigued. And the level of fatigue is crazy because even like after he uses it against Kisame in the water shark bubble, he's not able to stop Kisame's shark at all. He's just getting dragged around. And like this is important because like base Naruto is like folding this, base B's folding this. Like these fighters are having no issues with it. But then guys just like getting dragged around. So if he does miss Hirodora, he's going to be in a horrible position. If the thing is too, like that would open up for him to get tagged by Pain's rods, which if Pain does decide to start seeping chakra in, maybe it will start to inhibit guys' movements quite a bit. So that's going to be a big problem as well. So realistically, like you kind of have to argue that he nukes all of them at the same time, in my opinion. For guys 7th Gate to really be like that, like much of a definitive W, because you know the speed arguments are there. But then, like, you know, you can make some cases for Tendo as well, especially if you still think, like, Pain is still stronger than the Kisame that was, like, messing with 7th Gate Guy. I'll say this as well. There is maybe a chance, like, we were talking about this, like, he could Omega Shinra Tensei, like, the 7th Gate away. Maybe, like, yeah, like, kind of just, like, because... It's possible, you know what I'm saying? Now... It's in my opinion, it's unlikely because, like, just like Chibaku Tensei, like, Pain doesn't really do that in character. But... You know, I just want to throw out the interpretation, but I do think you kind of do have to like argue that Guy just nukes everything and everything, which again might be debatable, especially since like Pain has options even with his summons. He can hide himself inside the summons. Like, what if he summons the chameleon? That's it. That's over. They're not finding it. It's over. The chameleon's just gonna go around the battlefield. Yeah. Why he didn't summon it versus Naruto is beyond me. But like, you know, you have that. You have the constantly replicating dog. You just have a lot of options, which like. You know, they aren't going to be prepared for. In which case, like, if they use their ace cards, they're going to be left in states that are not, they're not ideal against someone like Pain.
For sure. I'm just keep imagining a scenario where, like, Kakashi and Guy fight, and they're both, like, exhausted. They resort to 7th Gate as, like, a last resort. And then, the Hirodora catches, like, all the pains. But then Naraka was like standing a little bit further away. He just walks up to Tendo and just revives him and starts reviving the others too. Yeah. And then Kakashi and Guy are just like on the ground like, oh man, we tried. Yeah. So honestly, like we're generally getting that like, you know, Pain seems to be a bit too much for Kakashi and Guy at this point, at least at full power. And this is like Pain himself. This isn't even acknowledging like Conan's annoying or anything like that because the stamina here is the big issue. Even if you were to say like, okay, they can keep pace with like lower paths of Pain or anything like that, it just doesn't seem likely that they're going to be able to go the distance with Pain, just like Naruto was. Naruto had like Naruto was fighting against a fatigued Pain who could constantly like, and he was getting his sage mode constantly replenished, and he had like giant toads and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, it's not like their stamina is going to be magically replaced throughout this fight. It's just going to be a downward spiral for sure. Yeah, and this isn't even mentioning all the nasty combos Pain can pull off. Like we never see Asura and Tendo fight alongside the other paths. But it's just like imagine Shinra Tensei into like a bunch of missiles, universal pull into the Preta path, universal pull into the human path. We have all the animals, all these missiles, laser beams flying around, Konan's paper bombs just bombing the battlefield. And then we have like the human path as well, capable of ripping out souls. People like to downplay it and say that it's like, you know, it's like if you're a relative, you can resist it. We see this with KCM Naruto. But KCM Naruto could only resist it because he had like the whole Nine Tails training beforehand.
Yeah.
He's like actually instructing him, like, remember that training you had, like resist it, you know? The same way you did with the Nine Tails. So it's just really not a fair matchup. Now, to give the duo some credit, if Shinra Tensei does come out, it's unlikely, but if it does come out, Kamui or the Hirodora could probably take care of the core if they react quickly enough, but
Yeah.
it's just not coming out. Like, it's not getting to that point. And I'm just also imagining there's like all the big summons, like the giant hellhound summon, and then Kakashi just like summons all the little like 8 like Pakun hounds and stuff, and Guy summons a turtle, and they just say, "Yo, could you like please hold off this giant mega monster hellhound? Like, could you maybe take care of that?"
It's too much. It's too much. They just don't have the correct arsenal. And you know, it's like overwhelming, the stamina difference, the hacks. There's just so many factors here that, like, you know, you could make a case for Kakashi and Guy, but like it's borderline, like you have to do some crazy mental gymnastics to like go. You know, there is a lot to discuss here. Like, it's a whole like situation, but generally speaking, they just don't have what it takes, in my opinion. So I don't think they clear this one.
Yeah, for sure. It's like mid-diff for Pain, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe even low, because Kakashi's gonna get taken out really early. I feel like one of those nasty combos, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Guy's just gonna get packed up. But even if you argue like he has the 7th gate speed amp, like he doesn't use Hirodora, I still think it's kind of debatable. So yeah.
Even if you argue that like Guy takes out all the Pains with Hirodora, Konan is just gonna be still there, like up in the air. And if Guy couldn't handle a single shark, I don't think he can handle Konan dropping bombs on him.
Yeah.
So even then, it's like, even in the worst case scenario, the Konan actually clutches.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, you know, that's the video. Went on for quite a while. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you for Satori for coming in and coming in clutch.
Wait, you don't wanna talk about DMS Kakashi and 8th Gate Guy?
No, we don't. We're not talking about DMS Kakashi. I will say this, for a closing thought. If you're doing War Art Kakashi and Guy, I would argue he clears all of them.
Yeah, for sure.
I would argue that duo is a little too strong, but in terms of like when these duos are around during the time frame, there just is some that they could take down and others they can't. So that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I certainly did. Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I feel like we pretty much touched up on everything. Like, they beat 2 duos and then they lose to 2 duos. I feel like if they were an Akatsuki duo, they'd be like upper mid tier in the Akatsuki probably.
Exactly. So that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Check Satori out. All that good stuff. Catch you next time. Bye bye.